So, welcome. In this session, we'll look at setting and implementing product strategy. It's going to be a there's going to be some elements of practice in here, but today I just want to introduce the concept, like really take us through the fold. So everyone, I'll share the slide and the documents that I use today. But I want everyone to be engaged, make notes as you go along, make questions, anything that you think it's unclear, uh, and once if you have a question, just raise your hand, and perhaps you can interrupt me because whilst I'm presenting, I'm not able to see the questions you raise. So if you just unmute yourself and say, please, I have a question, I'll stop and I'll listen to the question and try to answer. So without further ado, uh, let's begin. So I thought I'd begin with this. I don't know how many people have read this book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a great book if you fancy a pastime. One of my favorite habits of it's begin with the end in mind. So for anything you want to do, always go straight to the end. Like think this thing that I'm trying to achieve. If I achieve it, what is it like? What does my life look like? And what's the benefit if you get to the end and you see that actually it brings it brings an incredible value to your life, then it makes it you can then work backward induction, or you can come right back and then begin. If you've seen the end and it's not what you don't like the results, the output, then it's really easy for you to stop and cut it out. So the idea of using this principle, begin with the end in mind, is to illustrate what we've done. As PMs, we went straight into the detail to look at writing user stories, to look at writing acceptance criteria, to look at writing use cases. That's the end. That's the end product of what we do as product managers. As product managers, our core responsibilities and job, we focus on setting product strategy. Why are we doing what we do? Does it add value to the company? Does it add value to customers? Does it add value to the world? These are those bigger questions that we have to answer. When Facebook releases a feature, they have to think, what benefit does this add to customers? What benefit does it add to, the company? What benefit does it add to the world? These are those societal questions that we have to try and answer. There are also economic questions, social questions as well. So we begin with the end in mind. So we, as PMs, we went right to the detail to understand those user stories and so on, of how those requirements can come in to help the developers to build an effective product. And in the meantime, then, as we step back here, we look at how, we're going to create an effective product strategy, because that's what we do. So we went to the end to see to really help us understand how our product strategy is translated. And then now we're going to step back and look at how we even get to set that product strategy in the first place. Okay, so crafting an effective product strategy. This is a combination of multitudes of things. It's like a puzzle. You try to bring varied processes, varied people, varied systems into place, varied problems, varied solutions, and ultimately trying to fix it to make sense. In the picture illustrated here, you'll fix it to become a square, but that square.
Excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Are you sharing your screen?
Ah,
You can't see.
apologies. I thought I was, but no. Okay. Just realized you weren't seeing my screen, so this is what I was sharing. Begin with the end in mind, and crafting an effective product strategy. So, agenda for today then. Let's understand product strategy, what is the importance of a solid product strategy, key components of a product strategy, steps to create an effective product strategy, and then look at some case studies, and then implementing.
Sorry, I can't still see your screen now.
Really?
Yeah, I can't still see your screen.
Can everyone else see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. Do you want to rejoin? Are you using your phone, laptop?
I can see it now.
Okay. Okay, let's begin. So, product strategy, essentially, you may think, what is product strategy? Because it's something that is said so often. So, this is a high level summary of product strategy in general. This is just a brief presentation put in to summarize the idea. I'll share this. And in this document, I've created a more consolidated view of it. You can see it's 22 pages, so it's very long. We'll look at this briefly, but first let's review this. What is a product strategy? So product strategy is essentially a long-term plan for your product. So let's say you thought of coming out with a product, and this product strategy is not something you do only for your new ideas or old ideas. Everything that is called a product, a technical product. Yeah, and for this case, when we say product strategy, we're in this class, as I alluded from the onset, we're referring to technological products. What are technological products? Technological products are things, things like your Netflix. Netflix is a product. In the tech world, we call these things products. Your bank, your bank internet login, we call that a product. Whether it's a website or an app, it's a product. Any website you go to is a product. A product is anything that brings benefit to users, consumers, and the world. So it's a product. So products should be taken care of. If things that should be taken care of, then you need to have a plan, a strategy for how you go about, defining and optimizing its value to the world. So, with that being said, then, in this class, we think of technological product. So, when we say a long-term plan, then it's a long-term plan for a product. So it could be a new product, it could be an old product that exists, it could be any product, as long as it is a product. That product needs a strategy. And if the product already exists, for example, your bigger established companies like Microsoft, for instance, then they already have a product strategy. So if you come in as a PM, you're highly unlikely, if your company as big as Microsoft, like you're not going to come in and now suddenly give them a brand new product. All right, that's not possible because they already have a chief product officer, a very senior executive role. That's his responsibility to set that strategy. And so from a PM's perspective, you're probably going to be responsible for maybe one single feature, or maybe one idea that the company is trying to bring to life. Maybe, it could be you're going in to join the Microsoft Excel team, and then you're helping to refine Microsoft Excel product strategy. So you have a company, the bigger, wider company. That company would have a chief product officer, and his role is to define what is our product strategy for all of our products, so multiple products. And then you join the company, and then as you join the company, you may be given a smaller product or a smaller set of value to look out for, or to contribute in helping to implement and manage. And in doing so, you need to create a product strategy. And in most cases, they'll probably already have one, and you're just contributing to its optimization, to ensure that you're consistently adding value to users, to the market, and to the world. So again, just to reiterate, you have, you think of Google, for example. This is a big firm with multiple businesses: YouTube, Google Search, Google Maps. All of these are multiple businesses within Google. And your role then, if you've been employed, to join Google, you said, okay, well, which Google have I employed? Which team within Google employed me? Maybe the YouTube team is what employed you. So within YouTube, everyone here, I assume, has a YouTube account. And if you have a YouTube account, it is likely that you see that YouTube has various, features. Let me share this and show you. So within YouTube, you could see all of this. These are all features that Google has. And you could see subscription, YouTube Shorts. All of these are effectively things that you could do in Google. You can watch videos. So if you've been employed by YouTube, then they might bring you to join a specific segment of those features within Google. They say, maybe come in and help us to optimize our search. So it could be optimizing the search within YouTube, making it much broader and better for everyone, to meet the needs of everyone. And so if you've joined the YouTube search team, then you're going to need, and they already have a product strategy, you're going to need to help them, to understand that product strategy. So consistently trying to understand, and meet the needs of the target market for YouTube. Okay, I hope that, that's clear. And if you're doing this for a new startup, so a new idea, then it'll be the same. Then it just means you're defining the product strategy from scratch. Nothing exists. You follow the same framework, the same sets of ideas to set one, and there's no difference. That's the beauty of product strategy. If one already exists, you follow the same framework to ensure you keep it up to date. It's like if you're cleaning a house that is really dirty versus one that is not dirty. You don't clean it differently. You still have to mop it. You still have to brush things. If it was dirty, you still have to do the same thing. So there is no difference. There's no differentiation. You follow the same processes to get things done. So that is product strategy at a high level. And then we also look at what are the elements of an effective product strategy. To do product strategy, really well, we need to think about market positioning. We need to think about target audience. We need to think about differentiation. What makes us different from everyone else? So as a company, I can give example of a company, the housekeeping app that we thought of bringing to the market. There are several of these around the world. And if they decided to expand to, maybe Nigeria, for instance, what would make us different? So differentiation. Every business has to be different from others. This is what customers buy, that differentiation. Why do people take Uber as opposed to Bolt? What is that difference in value? So it's critical to ensure that there's differentiation for your target audience. And then we'll look at the value proposition. This sometimes is what leads to the differentiation. So our value proposition, it's what value are you adding to customers? What value are you proposing to add, or what value do you currently add to customers? So to get all of this done, you need to really understand what the market needs are for your company and your product. You need to then understand what capabilities. So essentially, what are you offering to customers that will make them come to you? And that lends itself more towards addressing your differentiation. and then you build a great reputation. So if you do all three of these, then you're right in the middle, and that's the sweet spot for innovation. If you do, if you've understood market needs, and you have a great reputation, oftentimes it's not enough. So you're in C, you do two really well, it means your capabilities, what you give to customers, isn't that great. Customers, they want to buy more than just your reputation and your understanding of their problems and pain points. They want to really see that you've understood the wider market, you provide them really good, solid features, and you have a great reputation in the market. This is what drives your market dominance. The importance of a solid product strategy. So if you do product strategy really well, you can gain an edge in the market because you really understand the pain points. You do so by doing we'll get into it in a bit, but you understand your market research, which we touched upon some weeks back. You understand market research to really understand what's driving consumers, what are their pain points, and what are the key jobs to be done. People don't buy products; they buy essentially they buy the solutions to their problems. They're not coming to buy your products because you do something really well for them. If someone comes and buys maybe for, let's say, Spotify, for example, that plays music, people aren't buying the app, they're buying a feeling. The feeling is, if I subscribe to Spotify and pay $10 a month, then I'm going to be in a good mood because I get to listen to really cool Christian music, or I get to listen to really amazing artists out there, and all of that is giving me value in my life. So why couldn't I do this on Apple Music, for instance, over Spotify? So if you do product strategy really well, you can gain competitive edge. So that means really understanding the pain points that your customers are going through and trying to edge out your competitors, knowing that you really focus on understanding their pain points, and you do so at a very high level. And by doing so, you're effectively differentiating yourself from everyone else. Why do most people wish and crave iPhones? We don't see that same admiration for like other brands out there. So why is that? Because Apple have sort of set themselves as innovators. Certainly now that that lens and vision is not declining, it's still quite high, and this is what enables them to charge such high fees for iPhones. iPhones in the US, you can get something for well over $1,000, and that's not great. But they still charge that much because they command it. Okay, let's take a break for a minute and let everyone else in. People that came late, this will be the practice moving forward. If you come late, you will not be let in. Okay, and then next is alignment. If you do product strategy really well, you align with business, you align your strategy with the business goals. So again, as in all businesses, all businesses have varied functions, and all the functions within the business, like your marketing, your finance, your legal team, your operations, all of these functions, they need to align with the wider business. So your CEO sets, leads the management team to set effective goals for the business, goals and objectives for the business. And then now each of these different functions need to then go and set sub mini goals for their departments. And then these mini goals and objectives, they need to align with the wider company goals and objectives. And by doing so, you end up having a business that would achieve their long-term goals. Because if you don't align your wider long-term goals with your departmental goals, then you're not gonna head. It's like you're traveling from A to B. If you get to C, you have no idea because no one within the business knows where they're headed. So effectively, if you set an effective product strategy, it requires that you align with the original long-term goals of the business. That's critical. So we don't do things in isolation. We work with the wider business and the chief executive of the company to do so. And this is not your role. That's why we have a chief product officer. This is their role. We in product management, we are led by a chief product officer. That person, or a product director, someone really senior, and that person manages what we do, why we do it, and when we need to do it. And so in delivering products, we always align with the product director or the chief product officer, and they set the vision, and then we just come out and implement it. Another good reason why a solid product strategy is important because it helps us to prioritize our resources effectively. Resources, so we think like, employing people, our financial resources, these needs to be effective. Otherwise, we can bring people in a team, for instance, and not really help them to be successful. Or we spend money investing in a product or features that would add no value to users. That's of no good. And lastly, a solid product strategy is not something you do once. You do it, and then you need to, agility is critical. You need to effectively adapt, and it needs to be alterable. So it helps you to respond to market changes. And I'll give an example of this. In the West, I think also in Africa as well, there was this time that KYC, know your customer, it became a thing. It never used to be, but it went into law. So regulatory, it became something that it's legal for you to know your customers. Like you need to have effective management of data and so on. And if that's now in the law, most systems, the legacy platforms, they didn't have this, they didn't take this into account when they were being built. As such, they were slow to respond. So the companies that were able to adapt their product strategy and quickly create a plan, those companies were able to effectively meet the legal regulatory requirements that were forced upon them by governments around the world, and as such were able to avoid being fined and so on. And so this is one of the reasons why it's critical to be able to respond to market changes with that fluidness. So being able to change as and when needed. As product managers, we need to be able to adapt our strategies and to say, for example, if we're within let's say we work for Google, then where are we capturing user data? We might implement strategies where maybe we stop capturing user data for, down the line within the product funnel, or we set a strategy that requires us to, obtain some very basic information of users so that we don't become, faulty with the law. So these are some of the ways that we can adapt our products to adhere to regulations out there. And why do we do that? Again, we do so to gain an edge in the market, because if your competitors aren't able to adapt their product strategy, then ultimately they'll fall behind. It's like with all things. If you don't keep running, you will fall behind. So you need to keep running, but be flexible. So flexibility is key to help you gain an edge in the market. And that alignment with business goals and objectives, really crucial. And so we look here, what makes that possible? It's our ability to pay attention to how much, that's desirability, how much customers desire what we do. And how do we know if they desire it? We look at a principle called willingness to pay, WTP. So willingness to pay is if someone tells you, I really like your product, but the minute you say pay, 20,000 naira for it, they said, no, that's too much. I'll pay 2,000 naira for it. They're telling you something, telling you what they're telling you there through their actions is, I don't want your product. I don't desire it enough to pay. If you won't pay for it, then that means it doesn't add much value, because any product that adds value, the willingness to pay would be high. No one complains, of paying for, let's say, for instance, I mean, people always complain, but ultimately, if they really want it, they will find a way. iPhones are so expensive, as I alluded earlier, and yet people still pay well over $1,000, dollars for it. Why? Because they find it desirable. That means they're happy with, forking out such money because they believe it adds value to their lives. And then, so from a business perspective, why should you worry about, if you should even invest in this product? So that's viability. Uh, Effectively, does this product that you are investing in, is it going to help you to increase your revenue? Or is going to help you to reduce your cost in some areas of your business? If it does, then you want to invest in it. If the product you're investing in doesn't bring value to your business or to your customers, then there's no point to invest in it. And we look at feasibility. This means, can we build it? Do we have the key members of teams? Do we have the resources? Do we have, the technical expertise? Do we have people that know how to build this? If we do, then that's fantastic. We should invest. So once you have a green light in all these three areas, desirability, feasibility, and viability, and if you do, that's known as a sweet spot, right in the middle. That's a innovation sweet spot. If you do, then you should absolutely invest in that product, because customers are willing to pay for it, and you see that it's going to help you increase your revenue, and you see that you have the key people in the team that are really good and that can help you bring that product to life. And if that's the case, then absolutely, that's going to be something that will help you gain an edge in the market. This is what Apple did. Back then, it was, I think it was Nokia. If you had a Nokia phone, 2003, 2004, these were great phones, Nokia phones. They missed the opportunity to become market leaders, and they didn't take the opportunity to invest and bring out, the touchscreen phones like Apple did. Back then it was buttons, and Apple just took the plump and said, let's be innovative. Customers are willing to pay. We know that we have the personnel, the people within our team that can build this great iPhones, and we know that it's going to drive our revenue off the roof. And they did, and people were willing to pay. And till date, Apple is still known as a very innovative company to work for. If you work for Apple, it is likely that you would always have a job, because people want to know what you learned while you work for them. So they will always hire you. So again, to be innovative, you need to consider these things in mind. If you go for an interview and someone said, how do you set a product strategy? And you just simply say, I try to understand that the product we're trying to create, is it desirable by people? Is it feasible? Do we have the key people within our teams to help us deliver it? And does it add value to customers? And do we make money from it? That's the goal of a business, to make money. It's an exchange of value. We give you value and you give us money. And so, all in all, if you can articulate this really well, then you start to sound like someone that really understands product strategy and someone that really understands business as a whole. As product managers, we're not just, we're not just people that deliver product strategy for technologists. We think widely. We think about the impacts of effective products within the company. So within the company, does it bring value to the business? Because if a company doesn't create value, then it's not able to charge. If it's not able to charge, then it goes bankrupt. And so ultimately, we think, what products are we creating to drive value for the company so that in turn the company continues to make a profit and then serves the wider community. Yeah, and then that value, it also serves humans, because humans obtain value and then they're willing to pay. And ultimately that value goes around. The company uses that money to pay people, and the value is just very circular. It goes round. Okay, so what are the key components of a product strategy? To do product strategy effectively, we need to do a market analysis. I've mentioned this in the past, and we've done a small market analysis by form of a survey. You guys saw that. You could also do a market analysis by form of an interview, and I did allude that in interviews there's something known as the point of saturation. There's no point of interviewing 1,000 people. That's a waste of time. A point of saturation means after you interview, depending on how big your research is, the point of saturation is usually 8 people or 16 people, which means depending on the size of your research, if you interviewed 8 people about a topic, after 8 people, the responses you get would all be, will sound similar, will just be in different variations, but ultimately the same thing. You get the same meaning. So there's no point of saying I interview 50 people. That's just a waste of time. So by doing that, it allows you to draw out assertions for the wider population. So you can say, having interviewed 8 people, our study helps us to understand that when people come to buy a product, they tend to, use these rationales. So you can use the rationales that you gain from the insights and rationales you gain from interviewing 8 or 16 people, and then draw out a conclusion for the wider population. But you need to state that these are, your stipulations, your assumptions that you're drawing from your interviews. Yeah? It's not factual. You're drawing them from your interviews to say you can draw these meanings from 8 people or 16 people, and then you're using that to base your analysis for the wider population. So then, by doing so, you do market analysis to understand people's pain points and what drives, them, what are their needs, what are the core problems that they have. So you try to understand that by doing market research. And market research, as I said, in the form of survey. With surveys, you can do up to any amount as long as you have the time to do so. You can do so, and then you analyze those surveys and draw insights, and that's it. So that's quantitative surveys and qualitative interviews or focus groups. So you sit more than one person, so 2, 3, 4, as many as you can find in the room, and have them discuss several ideas. You get deeper insights that's more favorable to interviews. Or you can do a combination of interviews, one-to-one interviews, or your focus group with multiple people, and then you sort of surmise your insights. Your summary as a PM, you should be adept at looking at text or paragraphs and being able to summarize it. Like, what do you understand? It's your understanding. What do you understand? So you begin to analyze, a bunch of interviews and focus groups, and then drawing your interpretations of those, and then keeping that as being your market analysis. And then you move on to your target audience. So you do your market analysis on your target audience. So who are the people that you feel might be beneficial, might be, that are having the problems that you're trying to resolve. You join the company, let's say Google, or you join any company. I don't like giving names because I don't want you to think product strategy is only for these companies. A product strategy is for anything that adds value. As I said, technical product strategies, any website you go on, if it does a good job, then believe me, there's a technical team there, there's a product team that has carved out a product strategy. So any website, any app you go on, they have a product strategy. And and they also, that product team have gone through a market analysis to understand customer pain points, and then those customers, they group them in what's known as target audience. I am a target audience for many products out there. So are you. Everyone in this class is a target audience for many products out there. And how do we know that? Because they've spent time, their product managers and their marketing teams have spent several hours trying to understand, what drives people to go to their platforms and so on. And then you need to understand a value proposition. A value proposition is, what are we doing? I'm going to give an example. There's a platform called Calm Meditation. These guys, again, you could see this is a product. There are several apps, several websites, several platforms that do this. And what are the benefits? See, what can we help with today? So the value proposition of Calm is that they can help you take more control of your life. How do they do that? They help you improve your sleep, reduce anxiety, improve focus by guiding you through guided meditations. And by doing so, you become, one second, let's let someone in. This is, again, guys, not good. If you leave the class, we'll be letting you in. So every half an hour, we can't, if I have to stop to let someone in, it's distracting for everyone else. So let's be mindful of everyone else in the class. Very important, guys. Okay. Find your calm. So you can see here, that's the value proposition. But how do I know this is a value proposition? Because I have used Calm in the past, and Calm is not just for individuals. It's also for businesses. So businesses can buy subscription and give to their employees. So several value props within the platform itself, and they have several product teams. They have several functions within the department. And from that perspective, you can see that it's, they've done a thorough job in trying to understand their target customers and users. And so the value proposition is, what do you aim to do? So what do you aim? Why do you exist? Why does Google Maps exist? Why does YouTube exist? That's what we call a value proposition. Why does Uber exist? Why does Bolt exist? So if you were starting an idea, a new company, why does your company exist? That would be known as your value proposition. What value are you proposing to users? Yeah. So why do you exist? What value are you proposing to add to the lives of your users? Anyone that comes to use your product online or on an app, what value are you proposing to add to them? And then competitive positioning. This just means, how does the value that you're proposing to add to customers, how does it equate? Where does it stand in comparison to other competitors in the market? And that's in the mind of the individual target audience. So in the mind of a user, how does an iPhone compare to a Samsung? That's in the mind, and this is very subjective, which is why you have some people being able to, bring out and pay for as high as an iPhone. You can put an iPhone for 10K, there will still be people to buy it. And the same thing for Samsung. They're not cheap either. So the proposed value in the minds of consumers is very high. So that's known as your competitive positioning. They've positioned themselves as being of very high value in the minds of users. And so from a product strategy perspective, then overall, you need to understand a market analysis target audience, value proposition, competitive positioning, and so where does your product compare? How does your product compare to other products in the market, in the minds of your users? And then once you do all of that, you build a product roadmap. So market analysis, what problems are consumers facing? Who are potential people that could help us address this problem? That essentially, who are the people that we could potentially produce a product to target? And then what is the value that we're going to add to these people? And then how might they see our product relative to other products in the market? And then we create a value map. So essentially, how do we get from where we are right now to delivering this product in the market? And then if we already have the product out in the market, we can go through the same steps to understand how we can enhance our product in the market. So we can do exactly these 5 things to help us improve the value that WhatsApp video call adds to users. For example, WhatsApp video call right now, all you see is just someone on the other side. But what if we went through this process and we found that users would really like the ability to maybe do additional things whilst on the call with someone on a WhatsApp call? Do you see how you can use these elements of product strategy, these components of product strategy, to enhance a value proposition that already exists? And what is a value proposition? A value proposition, in this case, you can say WhatsApp as a whole, or you can say one key feature within WhatsApp. So every key feature within WhatsApp is a value proposition. Being able to make a video call, that's a value proposition. You're telling users that you can call someone, you're proposing that value. That is a value. The value of this feature is that I can call someone in the video. They could be tens of thousands of miles away from me. They will be able to see me as long as I have internet. That's the value there. Or I can call someone by, voice. That's the value. I can send someone an image. That's the value. I can send someone a text message. That's a value. I can create groups. So these are sub-value propositions within the wider value proposition of WhatsApp. Making this very clear, guys, because I don't want us to get stuck on thinking product strategies are just for, the holistic product itself. So saying, for example, the product of Bolt or the product of WhatsApp, and saying that's just what we use product strategy for. No, we use product strategy for that. We also use it for the sub-value propositions within the bigger product itself. All is like saying the sum of the parts make up the whole. So we can use this template, these key components, to help us build the product strategy for the subcomponents of an app itself. Okay, so how do we go ahead doing so then? As I said, we have to do market research. So we define our target audience, we craft a unique value proposition, we analyze the competition. What are they doing that customers aren't happy with? And how might we do it better? So Bolt, for example, I can come in and say, customers are really not happy with how you search for the location of where you're headed. If you recall, if you call a Bolt app, maybe, and you're about to search for where you're headed, and that search most times is not accurate. So you could see that if you go on Uber does that really well. So perhaps people within the search in Bolt can say, let's do it better than what Uber does. We can see that they're the standard because they've done it really well, but let's see if we can do it even better. So now they analyze exactly how Bolt does it, and then they think of how they can surpass that. Yeah, and then once they understand that, then they can develop a roadmap. A product roadmap just means what are the key initiatives that you can do. So you come in then to understand the key features. The initiatives translate to capabilities, what people need to do better to be able to search better than Uber. So you outline those key things that the development team and your business analyst can use to then form user stories. So this is a step before user stories. You call that the product roadmap. You define that, and then the team can take it and implement, and then you can test and iterate and just go over these over and over and over. This is what I'll be doing, over and over as a PM, doing this over and over and over and testing that what is being done is adding value to customers. Some case studies I've mentioned, Apple iPhone, Steve Jobs, God rest his soul, did great with Apple and iPhones. In 1994, the company was failing, crashing, not doing so great, having been fired earlier as a CEO. They brought him back, and he came back and really transformed the culture within Apple and made them to think more about solving problems for customers. That's what drives value. We solve a problem, we add value to their lives. Ultimately, in terms of our competitive positioning, they will always favor us over everyone else. It took time for that culture to be embedded, and the product teams, the design teams, they worked really well together, and that's what led them to ultimately come up with really slick product. And yes, you look at an iPhone, you think, yes, but that's a physical product. But what underpins it is the software, and that's what we're about. We in product management, we're about software. So software within a physical product. That's what we did. We design it to ensure that it does what it's supposed to do at a very high level for customers. And yeah, so that's what we do to set an effective product strategy, and we iterate over and over and over. We don't get bored, because each of these phases could be many, many months or many, many weeks. In terms of developing a product roadmap, that can take quite a while to go through this process to get here, and then iterate and get those key initiatives given to the development team for them to build that. For them to build can take many months. And so as a PM, when they come to me, I'm always validating, okay, in the research that was done, what has been built, does it make sense? Does it add up? If it makes sense, I can approve it, and then it can move on forward to being launched. So, mentioned Apple iPhone, that's what they did to really ground the team in thinking about customers first. So solving pain points for customers. We look at, Tesla. They're driven more by the environment. The environmental, Elon Musk, he thought about what can people with high net worth, so people with, the funds, the financial means, that they have a conscience about the planet. So those electric cars, what value, can electric cars add in their lives? That's social value of saying, I care about the planet, which is why I drive an electric car, something that doesn't pollute the environment and so on. And they did so really well. So it's driven from the outside, from the environment, whereas Apple is driven from customers, the customer pain points. And here is more an environmental pain point, and then leads to customer pain points. Customers will then have the problem, will then care about the environment. So you can see that your products need not always be focused on, what are the pains that customers are having. You can identify a problem in the world and say, I want to fix it. And then you can find people that care about that problem, and ultimately they will buy it. So Elon Musk thought about people, thought about the planet. Our current utilization of our resources is not great. So perhaps if we can reduce the emission of some gases within the environment that aren't great, then that would be good for us in the long term, for the planet. So that's what drove the innovation of Teslas. and then people that care about it ultimately supported that mission by buying those cars. Okay, then the third one is Netflix streaming service. So prior to Netflix, there was Blockbuster. Blockbuster was, this massive DVD renting company. They refused, not refused, but they just didn't see the vision to innovate digitally by providing a product that enabled people to come online and stream. Streaming wasn't common then, so they stuck to their DVD approach, and ultimately Netflix snuck in and stole the market. So that's how did they steal the market? They came in and really innovated, took the whole DVD streaming away, and focused on giving you a platform that you can sign in and consume content online for a very suboptimal fee. And ultimately today, everyone thinks the leader in this market is Netflix. You have your Amazon Prime, but people don't really tend to think of it. And many other services are trying to emulate what Netflix has done so successfully globally. And in that case, you can see that they were the market leaders in terms of being the first to market with an online product that showcase streaming. And so we can see that if you have an effective product strategy, you can bring any product to market, or you can optimize any existing product that exists. In the case of Apple, that's what they did. They had some of the systems already, but they just didn't know how to turn them into great and better products for users. So how do you then, once you've implemented and executed the plan, how do you ensure that it's delivering value for users? You do so by first setting your KPIs, that's your key performance indicators. This is how you know if your strategy is working. If you've launched a strategy in the market, you need to test it. So you test it by comparing the performance against the KPIs that you've set. And to set KPIs, it's literally, if you launch an iPhone, for example, or if you launch when Netflix was launched, let's use Netflix. One KPI you could say how many people are joining our service. If you have 0 people joining, then that means your product strategy has not been too good. It could be that you haven't done enough market research to understand the needs of your consumers, or you haven't really defined the appropriate target audience, or your value proposition is not unique and is not great enough. What you're proposing to do to users is not great, or what you're proposing to offer is not great. In the case of Netflix, they're saying we'll have a bunch of content on our app or online that you can sign in and watch. So if you're not having people registering in the service, it means people aren't interested. So maybe you need to wiggle and optimize that value proposition, and you do so regularly. You test it. Anything that you launch, you test it. Anytime that you add additional features, you test them with people. You try to understand what your competition is doing and how you can best them. So you set some KPIs. KPIs will allow you to see how you're doing. If you're Netflix and you set a KPI of how many users are we getting every week, weekly, and it turns out that you're getting tens of thousands of users signing in and watching and registering, then that's good news. That tells you that your service and your value proposition is great. So you keep doing the things in your product strategy. You keep on learning about your users, learning about how you're solving their problems, and ultimately you learn about how you can provide multiple value propositions. We mentioned WhatsApp some time earlier, and how you have the value proposition of a video call, a voice call, all for varying needs. Some people only like voice calls. Well, WhatsApp has a solution for you. people that like video calls, WhatsApp has a solution for you. So you think of varying needs, varying solutions for different people, because at the end of the day, users and customers all have different needs and expectations. So for your products, you need to think holistically. You need to think how you can meet, for those users that are within your target range, how you can meet their needs. And that's this done. So this is a review, consolidated review of a product strategy, how you can set a product strategy for any product which you're involved in. If the product already exists, you can use these steps to create or optimize an already existing strategy. If you're trying to launch your own startup, then you can use these steps to create an effective product strategy. Yeah, so it's for existing products or brand new products. What we do as product managers, we think of systems that we're trying to build. We think of ways to really do them really well and optimize. If we were hired by this company, Calm, we'll come in and try to understand what the business does. What are the capabilities that it currently offers to people? What are the value propositions? Okay, we then move on to understand who are the competitors in this space. We also try to understand what they do, what they offer to customers. We can also do some market research to understand why people come to Calm as opposed to competitors. Understand those key pain points, and by doing so, we're ultimately bettering how we can serve customers, and we can improve our positioning, which is key, our positioning relative to competitors in the market. So we'll take a pause here for some questions before we move on. Questions? Nothing is too silly. Anything I should go over again? This is critical. So open the floor to you. Any questions? Great. It means everyone understands. You're now all experts at creating product strategy for new ideas, existing ideas, new companies or existing companies. Fantastic. I'll share this slide with everyone. It's critical that you really understand this, because this is the bread and butter of a product manager. If you're a product manager, you should be absolutely killing at doing this. You join a company, they say, we already have a strategy, we just need you to optimize it and help us think better about how we serve our customers. You said, well, sure, that's fine. Let me see what you have. You can say, well, where is our market analysis? Have we done any market analysis? That's your surveys, your competitive research, your interviews, anything. Where is it? Okay, who are our target audience? Okay, let me see, statements of our value propositions. Okay, and how are we perceived? Let me see our product roadmap. These are some questions you can ask. By asking these questions, anyone that's answering them would say, yes, I am indeed speaking to someone that is aware of product strategy. Go ahead, John.
So when thinking about a product strategy, does it just entail about the product alone? Are products not, don't the products require humans to run in an operational point of view? So I'm wondering, the product manager just focuses on just the product alone, or other aspects of it?
Great question. As can be alluded in the name, we are product managers, right? I'm employed by a company as a product manager. I've come there to manage the product. So that means I'm in charge of if I have been employed, as I've said, if I've been employed at WhatsApp, for example, and I am there as, for example, I'm a payment product manager at WhatsApp. It means my role is to help us manage payments within WhatsApp. So WhatsApp business, for instance, some businesses have to pay for WhatsApp, and so I think of all things related to payment, not people. Product managers, we don't have authority over people, and also we we have to be great at managing our relationships with people to help us get what we need. So in my role as a product manager, I have to work with people, so I have to understand the dynamics of people to get what I need. I need people to help me get what I need to do. So managing those relationships is critical, but at the end of the day, I am in charge of a product, whatever that is. There are various product managers out there. As I said, you will never just see someone says, I'm in charge, I'm the product manager at WhatsApp. That's not true. You join WhatsApp, there will be well over 200 product managers in WhatsApp. Everyone just has a unique focus. You could have someone who focuses on who their role as a product manager in WhatsApp is to ensure that messages are done really, really well as the best in the industry. So if that's his role, it won't just be even him. It will be maybe 5 or 10 other product managers who are working on optimizing that. So you can see that product management, it's all about the focus on delivering the product to customers. So by product, it's the system to customers. And so you need to work with people. You need to work with your engineering colleagues, your design colleagues, your marketing colleagues, your finance colleague, your legal colleagues. All of these people, you need to work with them. It may be that your role doesn't involve working with the legal team, but if you encounter anything that you believe requires a legal input, then you need to reach out. Hey, legal people, I think we need to understand, the implications of the legal environment on this key feature. And then they'll be able to tell you. For those that deal with things around KYC, you may understand this, that if anything you're doing involves KYC, I'm not a lawyer, so I need someone that works within the KYC environment to be able to, to advise around the deeper end of it, to say, if we do what we're doing right now, we may fall victim to, the laws and regulation. And if that's the case, the company may get fined. So as product managers, we need to think of how what we build can have, a legal ramifications on the company. So all I'm saying there is we're product managers and we focus on the product that we're building and how it impacts users and how it impacts the companies.
Yes, but I still feel the point I'm trying to capture here as well understood. Like we will look at, you talked about service delivery. So if we're going to think about service delivery to satisfy the customer, what about the service delivery component? Like let's look at the flight scanner, for example. And we need to have flight database to even satisfy the customer. That's process of organizing. There has to be some kind of workforce going on behind the product. So does the product manager concern itself with that aspect, not really in terms of the product delivery, but the product operational aspect of the product to satisfy the customer? It has to have some kind of contribution to the service delivery.
I understand. As product manager, what we're not masters. We're not jack of all trades. That's why I said our core. It's in the name, a product manager, not product service delivery manager, not product finance manager. You see, it's a product manager, and in that being the case, as I said, as a product manager, you work with varying teams. So there will be the service delivery people, and that's the role of the CEO. to organize the company in a way that the different departments to work together to deliver value. Yeah, so within the product group, the product management team, we recognize that we have to work with several people to deliver value. From our case, we add value. It's like a puzzle. We add value by taking care of the product really well, and then it connects the dots onto the varying teams that have to, be involved in that value delivery process. I use this puzzle as an example. It's a puzzle. The red here might be the product team. We have to, if we don't design everything to fit, then whatever the marketing team does, it effectively is useless. The weaker we do what we're supposed to do, then we don't fit. So everyone within the company has to do what they're supposed to do. That's not our role. We're product managers. That's the CEO's role, or the MD, to organize the teams, set that culture in a way that everyone plugs in. And then in the end, you have a perfect, square. As you see here, it's perfect, right? So to your point, we are product managers. We think of understanding product requirements. So how do we do so? We think of the market analysis. What pain points and problems are users facing? Who might be the target audience for this product? And what is the value proposition that we are going to add in their lives? And then how would they perceive us relative to others in the market? And then we build a roadmap to deliver this value that we've discovered in this component. Essentially, we go through these exercises to build a comprehensive analysis, and so we can share this with people within the business. And so now we have a product, and ultimately is what everyone else's supports. This is what marketing would use. Once it's built by the engineering team, this is what they will use to advertise and showcase to people. This is what the ops team would use to release to several audiences, and this is what effectively the finance team will build anyone that is buying. This is what they will use to get the company making money. And we do that thinking. We do product thinking. If there's anything to do with, let's say, how do we get people to essentially plug in, and that could be from a form of a database, as you said. We don't do that. That's not our role. The CEO's role is to organize the company, and this is critical that we focus on product thinking. Product thinking is trying to understand the market. What are the pain points that people are having? So doing product thinking really well. The minute you deviate from doing product thinking and try to have everything covered, then that means you're not utilizing all that you should be doing. And if something should go wrong, then it's easy for you to get in a blame game. And as such, if you join really effective companies, let's say you join the likes of Google, WhatsApp, and all of these super tech companies, they've already set up really effective teams. So it's like essentially it's like a puzzle. Everyone knows how they add in to deliver value. And when they bring you in, they want you to be an absolute expert at what you do. So anything concerning the product, they want you to be on top of it. Does that answer your question?
Especially the aspect where the CEO has to do his own job. That's
Yeah. Everyone, you just have to be. In 2014, I joined a consulting company, and I experienced what everyone being a master in their field. It was a team of 30 people, and every single person had a key responsibility. Came from a different function, and it was literally everyone being an absolute expert at what they did. There was no time to come in and learn, to say, I need some help with this, because no one could help you. You had to be the expert at what you were brought in for. So 30 people, everyone is an expert, and we fit in like a puzzle. So imagine this puzzle here with 30 people. If anyone came in, everyone was, essentially an expert at what they did. This is what an effective organization is. Every department is a puzzle, and they fit in perfectly. The value that they add to what the company does is super, it's critical. So as a product team, we add value in any company by helping that company to really understand these core components. And you could say some of these components can be done by marketing. Yes, that is true. They do it from a marketing perspective. So we need to really pay attention to that. Marketing, you can have your marketing analyst, your marketer, but we are product. So we think product. If someone comes on the on this app, we say, as a product manager, as a product manager, you need to have this keyword in your head at all times, which is product thinking. Product thinking. Product thinking involves you thinking about, users. What are the pain points that users are having? This is known as product thinking. Market analysis, your target audience. You need to be thinking about your users, product that are coming to use your product. So you're thinking from that perspective. I want everyone to really capture by the end of this class is, I don't want us to be confused on what a product is. We should all know what a product is by now, which is, if I'm using this this app or this website, if I download the app, that's a product. And within it, there are sub products. The features, you will call them products. So we all should be clear on that, and what are the benefits of the features. We all should know. As a product manager, we try to understand what the features, what benefits they add to the lives of users that come in. Now we can see here that they are proposing that if someone has a problem with sleep, that this app can help you improve your sleep quality. It can help you reduce your stress. Now, how does it do this? That will be known as the value proposition, and they do so by, many ways within the app. There are various features that can help you do all of these things that they propose here. Yes, go ahead. What's your question? I think someone has a question. Okay, no question. Great, let's move on. Right, so no further question. Then I hope that's clear for all of us. Product strategy is something that, as PMs, if you call yourself a product manager, you need to be an absolute expert in this. This is your bread and butter. And in this class, we're going to make sure that everyone here is an expert. And in doing so, look at how you can set a killer product strategy. So, as I mentioned, this is a quick run through, and here's the more detailed version of what I have in this presentation. And I'll also share this with you. This is 22 pages long. It's very detailed. So, in setting a product strategy, as I mentioned, in the response that you will have the CEO, everyone in the team has to do their job. And the CEO's job is to set a team, to have the varying business units. I've mentioned this in the past, that as product managers, we're not just product managers. We have to be good thinkers of business. We need to think of how to run a business successfully. And we use that thinking to help us run our products successfully, because running a product it can be compared to running a business in itself, because there's several things within the product that you really need to understand. in order to set an effective product strategy. And so one of the things you really need to understand is a product mission. So the CEO sets, defines the various teams within the company. You have your finance, your legal, your product management team, your engineering team, your marketing team, all of these teams. As many as he sees fit. He's the CEO. He defines as many as he sees fit. And then he hires people, or he hires leaders within those departments, and then the leaders go ahead and hire people. And so I hope everyone understands that so far. And then the CEO then says, my leadership team, he defines the head of the departments. He calls them his leadership team. And then those people then become, they become part of the leadership people that lead the company. And from a product perspective, we have someone representing us there. That's the chief product officer or the product director in some companies. That person is leading, our needs and our aspirations within our department, goes in there to represent us. And as a whole, they set a mission for the company, or maybe they review one that exists already. As a startup, it could be that, the person that founded the company already has a mission. So everyone in the leadership team would not have a say in trying to reshape that, unless the founder says, yeah, sure, go ahead, leadership team, optimize it if you wish. In that case, they go ahead. In that leadership team, those as many people as possible, but for argument's sake, we say 10 people. In that leadership capacity, all of them meet and they set a mission statement for the company. And then they also set a vision for the company. So, and ultimately that forms what is known as the product mission. So you have your product mission for for the company as a whole. And you could also have a product mission that has been defined by the chief product officer. So you have two there. And whichever one exists, that's fine. So it's not a case of saying, which do I use? You can use any of them. You can use the mission, purpose, the mission of a company, or you can use the product mission that has been defined by the chief product officer. So any company you join, just ask for, do we have a product mission? And if they say yes, you said, great, what is it? And that gives you an understanding. And you're asking for this because a product mission of any company, WhatsApp would have what is known as a product mission. They will have the wider company mission, and they will also have a product mission. This company here would have a wider company mission. They will also have a product mission. So all companies have a product mission. In this case then, the product's mission is something that, the company hopes would make a difference to the world. As I mentioned earlier, what is the societal value that your product adds to the world? What difference do you hope to make in the world? Yeah, that's crucial. What difference do you hope to make in the world? What difference does your product hope to make in the world? So we look at Flight Scanner, for instance. What is a product mission? Yeah, the product mission. Guys, I want everyone to be clear on this. If you want to make a note of it, please do, which is a product mission and a company mission. These are two different things. Let's not get it confused. There's a massive difference. A product mission is saying, what difference is this product going to make in the world? Or what difference, do the founders and your chief product officer believe it's going to make in the world? And ultimately, that statement is passed down to the product team. So everyone that joins the product department will be given this product mission statement if you ask for it. Some people won't just share it. You have to go in and ask. The fact that you even know of a product mission statement says a lot about you, so it will be shared with you. And then given that product mission, you can then, as a product manager, set a product strategy either for the entire product or for a feature within the product that you've been brought in to help. So essentially, you translate the product mission, and you use that to guide you in setting a product strategy. So you use that product mission here to go through and understand these steps. So if you know what the product mission is, then that ultimately gives you a solid understanding. And then when you're carrying out these steps, you're in better position to do so. You're not out of line in creating a strategy that doesn't fit with the product mission. So there should be alignment. Hence why we have this arrow here going downwards to show you the alignment. Now first you need this, and then that leads to you defining a product strategy. So essentially, what steps will we take to achieve our product's purpose? And what are those steps? The steps are here. We take these steps to achieve the product purpose. And then that leads to doing the work itself. How do we go about implementing this strategy? So once we go through this, we end up with a document, maybe a 4, 5, 6, 10 pages document. We then do that's the execution next. Execution is the engineering team, bringing it to life. The marketing team, there are some things that they need to do to support us. So all the relevant teams that need to support us will get involved. As I said, it's a puzzle. Everyone fits in to get things done. And then, just to reiterate again, some of these is going to be a repetition that I've gone through here, but I just want it to be very clear, because if we have a solid understanding of this, then ultimately we're going to be product managers that are unstoppable. And that's the aim of this course, to make you an unstoppable product manager, someone that can join any team and build product strategy and products from scratch, or products that already exist. You can join in and really embed yourself in any team and do really well. So product strategy, again, it's an art, and you do so to take advantage of competitive offerings in the market. So as I said earlier, you establish a mission for your product, and then you then move on to the product strategy itself to find out how you can add value to the market. And ultimately that, it's something that goes downwards, product mission, product strategy, and execution. The execution is getting things done. Okay. So an example could be of a product mission, could be to become the number one provider in this space. If you are, Calm, this is a meditation app. It could be, they could have a strategy, a product mission that says to become the number one product in the space of meditation. That's a mission. And then as a PM, then I think of how I can follow these steps to create an effective product features that will lead to the company achieving this product mission. Yeah. And then the strategies could be to spend, X amount on marketing. As I said earlier, as product managers, what we do fits in the wider, in the wider context. It's a puzzle. We work with varying people, varying departments to achieve what we do. So the marketers will help us by doing all of the promotions, marketing, and so on. That could be one strategy. Another strategy could be build an appealing incentive structure for our sales rep. So whilst we're building the product, we need people to be able to sell. Now that's what the sales reps will do. And once we finish building the product, we need to train them on what the product does. What are the features? What is the value proposition that we're proposing? And our sales reps will be able to essentially take this and represent us by selling it to people. They will know the product as well as we do, because we'll give them all the insights that they need to do so. Okay, so this here is a complete, as I've been saying, product strategy is like chess. You need to think, 5, 6, 7, 20 moves ahead. So we need to be great at thinking strategically. As I had said in the past, this is the strategic phase. The tactical phase, it's, getting in the detail. That's what we're doing last week. Here is a strategic phase. We're thinking, in that helicopter view. It's like trying to see the stars from, at night. It seems very far out. So we need to be able to think far ahead. So let's look in some more. Most products that we look at all have product strategies, and if we look at it's something that became a phenomenon post 2005. The likes of Facebook. Facebook came about 2004, and before then, you just you thought of building a product, you went ahead and you built one, and you didn't really care if users use it. There wasn't that much relevance to do so, but now it's to build a product. You need to think of the strategy, how you're going to ensure you're building the right thing, and then how to market it. And this is something that Harvard have done a research to find that most products that actually fail yearly, not every product succeeds. This is why not every startup succeeds. So most products that fail every year, which about 80% of them fail every year, and one of the reasons for doing so is a lack of understanding of customers. And lack of understanding from customers implies that you haven't got an effective product strategy, which means you haven't done effective market research. You don't know who your target audience are. You should really know before you bring a product to market. You need to know who's going to be using it. You need to know why those people will be using your product. And why means you've understood their problems. So by doing that, you can then create an effective value proposition that aims to resolve their problems, and in turn, they will come to use your product. So if you do a deep dive into it, most of these businesses, they fail because they don't really understand why customers will use them over other products in the market. And so in product management, we care deeply about setting an effective product strategy, because if you do, you've given your company a leg up to really thrive in the market. We've looked at product strategy already, but as I said earlier, we can follow a product vision or mission, and then move on to the product strategy, and then move on to a product roadmap. We've seen that here in market analysis, target audience, value prop, competitive positioning, and then a roadmap. This here just summarizes that. So in trying to look at what a product strategy should be, then how it translates to our mission and vision, we think of who are our customers, and that's what market analysis here helps us to understand. Market analysis and target audience. So who are our customers? How will our product, how will your product or any company you work for, how does it solve their problems? What makes your product to stand out among the competitors? We've looked at it here. Said on, competitive positioning. Yeah. What makes our product to stand out amongst the competitors? And what are the goals the product needs to achieve in its entire life cycle? So as I said, you need to be thinking 20 moves ahead. You're playing high stake chess. Thinking 20 moves ahead. If you're thinking 3-4 moves ahead, that's good. But most likely you might be disrupted by other people in the market. So you need to be thinking, 20, 30 moves ahead. If A happens, we implement our B strategy, our C strategy, our D strategy, and so on. So you should have a strategy for every eventuality. Nothing should be a surprise to you. Why? Because we're product managers. We need to think product. If people aren't using our product, why aren't they using our product? We should be able to answer those questions because we really understand. We should really, really have a solid understanding of market analysis. What are the market forces? Environmentally, what's going on? Right now, from an economic perspective, we see that globally, you know, most economies are facing the perils of the COVID pandemic. In the West, so much money was spent, borrowed, and so now companies are really not getting the investments that they needed. And in the air, a lot of money was printed by governments and so on. So all of these economic forces are leading to recessions in most economies. And so investors are holding back their money and are rather putting it into savings because of the high interest rates that they're going to get from it. Should you invest or should you save it? So most companies are doing this as well, and some of them are choosing to withdraw from investing in hiring new people. So they're instituting hiring freezes and so on. So that's market analysis. That's part of market analysis, trying to understand what's going on in the economic climate and how does that have an impact on your consumers. If people aren't being hired and unemployed, what happens to their capital? Where do they get money from? So that means they too are going to withdraw on some spendings. And if your product that you're selling is not something that people deem essential, then they will cut back from it. And ultimately, it's going to lead to your company not being able to make as much money as possible. And if that's the case, then your company is going to suffer financially. So that's something that as a PM, you need to be aware of. So you can design effective strategies to, counter these problems that you encounter, that you face in the society. Whether that is economical, or that could be, financially, that could be regulatory, and environmental. So all of these challenges as a PM, you need to be ahead of them. You need to think of it. You need to really understand your climate, the climate in which your product exists. So what do I mean? If you are calm and you're offering this product to help people find their calm, to help people find peace of mind, and if people were subscribed to this when times were really good, they had money, they're fine to pay $20 a month. As soon as things become tight, I don't think they'll be continuing to pay $20 a month. So now you need to find ways that you can update and optimize your value proposition to make people think that this product is worth having, regardless of the economic circumstances. One way you could do is you can optimize your products and features. You could also work with your marketing and your finance team to get their input. As I said, we work with varying people in the company. So several departments are involved in everything that we do. And so your finance team may say, yes, we see that times are tough. Maybe let's cut back from $20, and your marketing team may say, yes, we can do a promotion that gives people a discount for now. So maybe the next 2 years we'll make our product at $10 a month. So that's a significant cut, and you've optimized your product features. You've given a cut on the price, and marketing are going to advertise this and push it to users. So you can see how product managers can bring several departments to think about optimizing value for users, and all of that is part of your product strategy. So why do we need a product strategy in place? We need one for for one of the obvious reasons: to make better decisions. If unprecedented challenges arise along the way, we should never be caught off guard and saying we don't have a plan. We should always have multiple plans ready. So this is scenario planning. We have multiple plans ready to take advantage of any any eventuality that happens in the end. And another reason why we have a product strategy is to avoid distraction from unwanted things. Unwanted things could be stuff like trying to be a master of a different industry that doesn't concern you, or maybe producing lots of features that users don't really have that users don't really use. That could be a distraction. So you want to really focus your expertise and to deliver features that users work, things that they find valuable. So reducing that distraction is critical. So whenever you create a product, you need to always think of avoiding distraction. So as you go through these components, you think, okay, and that's what your roadmap really helps you to do, to reduce the complexities and the distractions. So you focus on the key things first, and then the things that will add value subsequently. So always prioritizing what are the key things that bring value to the company right now, and then what are the things that may bring value along the line. So subsequently doing so in ascending order. So first, second, third, and so on. I'll share this document with everyone so you could, take some time to go through it. But effectively, it covers in more details everything that I have summarized in our presentation. And any questions, just bring it next week and we'll go through it. But yeah, effectively, this gives you a high-level summary of everything that is present here, just in a much deeper, deeper way. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I had some question around product strategy.
Mm.
But just I can, I think you spread it between value proposition and like looking at these key components of a product strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But in the summary, it was in three places. So the competitive proposition and I think they are all fall under the strategy identification or something like that.
Okay. So all we looked at today is product strategy, and I've given you the key components, as in what are the things you need to do. If you're saying because you will hear many people say, I lead a product, and or maybe I'm trying to create a product strategy, and you can say, oh, what is that? That may be something that comes to your head. What does that even mean? So this here is breaking it down into the detail, the subcomponents. So these are the things. If you hear anyone says, I'm writing a product strategy, all they're saying to you is, they have to do what is known as market analysis. And market analysis, as I said, it's like doing research on the problem that you're trying to resolve. And you do so by doing research on surveys, focus groups, whether that be interviews or that be, researching the problem online or by any means. So that's market analysis, trying to understand the market, the problem. And then you look at who are some of the people that you may be targeting. So these are the components. These are the things that make up product strategy. So if you then are going to create a product strategy, this is a cheat sheet to help you. You just literally, you create, let's say, five documents, and these 5 documents would be part of your product strategy. So you create a document on market analysis, you create another one on target audience, you create another one on value proposition, you create another one on competitive positioning, you create another one on product roadmap. So by taking the time to do all of these things, in the end, you end up with a solid product strategy. So product strategy just means all of these key things here. That's all it means. And all of these things will take weeks and months to get to really understand them. So whether you're creating a new startup or you're joining a company that already exists, they would have all of these things there, and they may hire you to help you do them really well, optimize them. Or maybe they want to create new features and they want you to come in and create these key components for their new features. So this is what you do before you get to your user stories and so on. As I said earlier, this is a strategic end. At the end of this, these outputs will then allow you, specifically this output here, your product roadmap will then allow you to then use that and create the outputs that you get here is what would be used to create your user stories and your acceptance criteria. So essentially at the end of it, you will send this to your business analyst and your engineering team. They will take this and do the implementation. So if they wanted help to understand your product roadmap, then you set up a meeting where you then take them through it and help them to understand. And you could even work with a business analyst to write user stories. And maybe if they've written some, you can go through what they've written and optimize them and help them to better understand the product even more, or to understand the feature even more. So that's why we've been doing the BA business analysis relative work to help us really understand what the end of what we as product managers do look like. And then now we're stepping back to really do what we're supposed to be good at, which is a product strategy. We should be experts at this. Any other question? Please ask question. I've shared some very some very tough concepts today. I appreciate that. So anything that you want to highlight on, touch on, nothing is too silly. Every question would help you or maybe someone else who might be having the same question to understand. So do ask away.
What's a good way to measure the success of a product strategy? Does that concern us too?
Yes, we touched on that here. So a good way to measure it is your KPIs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, so it's your KPIs.
Sorry?
Sorry?
So maybe you can go over it again. I think
Okay.
it skipped me when you.
Okay. So you go through and you go through these steps. You do your market research, you define your target audience, you craft a unique value proposition. And by target audience, there are various ways to do this. You can define your target audience by the problem that they have. For instance, Bolt. Who are the people that use Bolt? That's your target audience. You don't say, you can define that by demographics by saying all people within the age of 16 to 30. That's one way. Or you can say anyone that needs to get from A to B is our target audience. Do you see? So there are various ways to define your target audience. You can say based on the problem, which is I don't have a car and I want to get from A to B. So I immediately fall under the target audience of a Bolt or a Uber. I will be their target audience just by having that problem. Yeah, so that's one way. And the other way is by age. You can just group everyone and say, okay, well, anyone between the age of 16 to 60, we want to target them. That's it. We don't care if you have a car or don't have a car. Yeah, so that's one way. What's the best way to do? It's subjective, based on what you see fit for the product that you're doing. And so that's how you define your target audience. So having done the market research, you identify that people need is a solution to a problem that you have identified, and you validated that with market research, and then you can then define your target audience for it, and then you can create a unique. It has to be different, different in its own way. Because you can say, well, Uber and Bolt, I don't see any difference except for the different names, but the value that they provide to users is quite different, and it's that unique value that makes it attractive and appealing to their various target audience. And then you need to really understand what competitors in the market are doing. That's critical, because then you can position yourself in the mind of users. Can say, hey users, we are so different from Uber, we're so different from Bolt. Use us because of these reasons. You can only do that and say that only after you understand what everyone else does. And then you can create a roadmap of the key features that you will have in your app that would allow you to meet the needs of your users. And this is the product strategy. And then in the end, you test and you iterate, you keep getting better. Iterate just means you optimize. You keep getting better and doing things in a way that will continue to serve users and provide them that value. And so, to John's point, how do we test? How do we find out if we're doing well? We find out by using KPIs, our key performance indicators. These really help us to ensure that the value that we're bringing to users it's not something we've just imagined. And if we say, for example, we follow this product strategy and we release a feature for WhatsApp, and we see that that feature is being used by so many people. So how many people are using this feature? We see that 1 million people around the world have used that feature. That could be a benchmark that tells us that people are really loving that feature, and therefore it really resolves a problem for our community, for our users, our user base. And that there is confirmation for us to continue going through our product strategy and find better ways to even do it even better for them. Because the more we do so, it adds money to our pocket as a business. It keeps our our management team very happy. It keeps our stakeholders or shareholders. It keeps them very happy in investing, and everyone around the business is happy. So ultimately, and if we're not doing well, so if rather than 1 million people, only let's say 20 people have used that feature, that tells us that our product strategy is off. It really we're leaning our energy against the wrong problem. We haven't solved the problem that customers are having. So we go back to our market research again. We test and iterate. So we use our KPIs to see whether we're doing well. And when we're not doing well, we do the same thing as though we're doing well, which is we go around. It's a cyclical thing. We go around, always finding ways to optimize. So if we're doing well, we get good feedback. It makes us feel good. We find ways to always stay ahead of the market, stay ahead of our competitors, and stay ahead of our users. Something that resolves your problem today, in 10 years time, maybe another problem. So we always have to think in advance, 20 moves ahead, as I said. So that's how we use KPIs to optimize our success and our progress and what we do. That's all for today. I hope you leave today's session much clearer on product strategy, and I'll share these two files that you can use, review them, go over them in your own time, and yeah, it should give you a lot of context for what we'll do next week.
If I may ask, are we going